Hey, gang. Thirsty Thursday. $11:03 here on the left coast. No, sorry, East Coast. What the hell am I thinking? Left coast. 8:03 on the left coast. 3:03 p.m. in London. 16:03 in Berlin. 17:03 in Tel Aviv, Gaza, Kiev, and 18:03 in Moscow. Back at Mother Russia. 11:03 p.m. in Perth. 2:03 a.m. Friday in Melbourne and Sydney. I'm Yergs, the voice that sounds like yours, kind of rattles in your head a little bit, annoys the hell out of you, like I got to do yesterday after my show when I visited via the chat to Sportcat Show. If you're full of poo poo, I'm going to call you out. And he did say some things that were more editorial and not news. And in addition to that, they were inaccurate. So I called him out on it. As usual, I was right, or I wouldn't have said anything. Hello. But he did do some research after the show. And apparently, in 2 hours from now, he will be correcting himself on some things where he was a little misguided. And you know what? That's okay. That's what journalists do when they make mistakes or when they let a little bit of passion get in the way of reporting. So kudos to him for fixing a simple error. We look forward to that today in 2 hours. I will be busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. So I will not be there to see it or hear it or to bathe in the, you know what I mean, enjoy it. I don't like people make mistakes. I do like seeing people correct them. And that will be my pain, and that I won't be able to see it today because there were too many other commitments and things that I got to do, a to-do list. Today, we got an update on the CIA incident yesterday. We'll talk about Gaza. We'll talk about Ukraine. And let me know in the chat or give me a call, please. I'm trying to get this phone thing to take off better. I know a lot of you guys are shy. I'm not going to call my listeners pussies. I'll just say that you're shy. But I want you to answer the question today. I want you to think about it. Are we in World War III? I've said we've been. I've said we've been in civil war. I've said what was the other one? I've said we've been in an autocracy. David Beckmeyer a few weeks ago confirmed that. I think we talked about that here, if only briefly. 1-888-88 Yergs, 844-GAY LGBT, or through Google Voice, 813-358-3836. Numbers are on the screen. They're also, wherever you need to get them, they're all over the place. I got other people calling. You can call too. You can hit us up, news, NEWZ, at Yergs, YERGZ.com. But, and don't forget to call this number too, the Capitol Switchboard. Tell them, senators, congressmen, tell them all. Doge, gotta goes. That's the number, 202-224-3121. First up, however, before we do anything, I already showed you the time, but I didn't actually show it to you. My bad. So there's that. I guess that one's not going to work, huh? There we go. That's the times. That's what I use. I love this thing. World Time Buddy. Go to worldtimebuddy.com. Check them out. If you do anything global, I have this pinned to my browser, which is Chrome, my primary browser anyway. I got to use like 5 different web browsers to do a show. It's pretty intense. But I have this pinned so that wherever I'm dealing with somebody in the world, I know if it's in the middle of the night or if it's happening right now. All right, first up, there he is. Newly crowned Deputy Director of the FBI. Because if you thought he was in over his head as a Secret Service agent, ta-da! Challenge of the century. We talked yesterday about the way the Associated Press did their job by holding feet to the fire of this agency, or rather of this administration. It may not have been the president directly. However, it was his spokesperson, who, of course, Danny Boi here says did an excellent job. Are you trying to get laid, dude? Is the wife not enough? Because if you think this stupid bitch is doing an excellent job, you are not ready for the FBI. They're the ones that know how to hold a press conference, not Caroline Leavitt. Do better, Danny Boi. But here he talks about what the AP journalist left out of his question and how she corrects him. Well, first of all, no, she didn't. The journalist was right. He's correct. And yesterday, right here on this very show, our very own Philip Lackett agreed that the exporting country is ultimately not the one who pays the tariff. What do we got to do to get this into your bald, empty head, Danny? Caroline? Is the hair dye that's causing you to be bleach blonde affecting more than your hair follicles?
Good evening.
No.
We, the unwilling, led by the...
Here's Caroline Leavitt. She's
All right,
been
well, here it
excellent
is.
as the press secretary, too. An AP reporter. Listen, he's making a case here I'm not going to dismiss out of hand.
That's called telling the truth, Danny. Your administration is not used to doing that. That's why he's making a case. Hold on, everybody. Get ready. Get ready. Hold on. 11 on the East Coast. There we go. I see that every day. Just seeing all those aces. Anyway, all right, sorry. He is the AP reporter is making a case, a legitimate one. Danny's not used to that either. And let's see how he kisses Caroline's ass.
I've told you, tariffs are taxes.
Thank you. I mean, if this stupid idiot even says it, there you heard it. Danny Boi Bongino himself just said, and this is actually old. This is about a week old because he's been gone now. I saw that he did his last show, Praise Jesus. But yes, terrorists, and I don't know if you're seeing this on your screen. For those of you that are just on audio only or radio, which is the same thing, but I mean, social apps, whatever. The chat, the verbiage to text or whatever the hell it's called, chat to text or whatever, misinterpreted tariffs and heard terrorists. And so right now the screen says terrorists are taxes. And of course, there's a picture because I've paused it. I gotta screenshot that. Because why can't I use that? It's from his profile. There he is, Danny Boi, saying terrorists are taxes. Pay your terrorists. Oh, that's awesome. For those of you on video, there it is. There it is. Sleepy Danny. Terrorists are taxes. Oh, that's going to be a profile picture for a while. All right. Tariffs is what he actually said, to be clear and fair and balanced, unlike Fox. Here we go.
But what the AP reporter is ignoring in the question, and what Caroline Levitt addresses here, is that Donald Trump has a massive tax cut plan.
No, he doesn't. He has a massive tax cut plan for people that make 7 digits and more, like you, Danny. So stop making it sound like you actually care about the little guys, about those of us doing their show from a living room that's under construction, or those of us doing a show paying out of pocket to get on radio stations. Oh, that reminds me. I got to pay K-Shop. Our contract's up in 2 weeks, and we got to re-up, and we're adding Tuesdays. Oh, son of a bitch. I got to get that done. Anyway, here's the rest of Danny Boi.
In the reconciliation bill, that on net is going to lower taxes for the American people dramatically. The AP reporter is leaving that part out. He's starting the story in the middle. Caroline Levitt has to correct him here. Check this out.
She doesn't correct shit.
Have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
That's
they
it.
Don't get charged.
Okay, so first of all, there's speaking of starting in the middle. For those of you that were here yesterday and you saw this very clip, you'll know this is not the beginning of the AP reporter's question. This is a follow-up. And you can tell he's very frustrated, as are all of us, trying to tell these asshats that we, the people, pay the taxes, pay the tariffs, not the foreign country. I got to do that too. I got so many of these so-called patriots who are just right-wing nut jobs use this "we the people" BS. Apparently, like Jon Stewart asked months ago, actually over a year ago now, because it was right after, I think it was right after Biden's last State of the Union. We the people. You know, there's more words to that, right? They just think we the people, boom, we're patriots now. We put that on the cover of my Facebook page, and we're patriots because we put the beginning to the Constitution. They don't even know it's to the Constitution. They just know it's we the people. I should say that we the people are the ones who pay the tariffs. Anyway, this is not the beginning of the AP reporter's question. Maybe I can go back, pull that from yesterday.
Charged on foreign companies, they get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades.
Okay, here's a little bit of my poker player skills coming out, as well as criminal investigator, someone that has conducted my share of interviews, interrogations, and the like in my years. Her mannerisms right now are beyond pissed off. I don't know if you can tell it from the video, for those of you that have video, and for those of you that are listening. Her upper lip is rock solid right now. You could not peel that back to see those teeth with a crowbar. And this is a Facebook reel, so I can't rewind it. It doesn't we'd have to replay the whole thing, and I'm not giving them that much time. But the tone, the rhythm to which she's speaking right now tells me nothing more than she wants to punch a wall. Or probably the reporter.
As I said at the beginning,
anytime somebody says, as I said, or again, or something that tells you they're repeating they're repeating themselves, they are frustrated. They don't want to repeat themselves. They want to move on. So why don't we do that?
Revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge of economics.
I'm glad he's testing your knowledge because you don't know what you're talking about. We proved that yesterday. And probably for what number of days is this administration in? And I told you guys before, I want to see this administration do well. But they got to want to do well. Superfan Ken saying, good morning, gang. And to you, good morning, bud. Welcome. Hope everyone is well. Yeah, doing well here. Sport Cat in the house. We talked about you in the very opening of the show. And I like distracting you yesterday. You'll be happy to know I will not be distracting you today. I will be, unfortunately, too busy to chime in and piss you off as you pushed my buttons too. Well done. I got pissed off yesterday too. I'm not going to repeat it now. Go back and watch his episode. It's on YouTube. The Sport Cat Shows. You see it right there on the screen. Search the Sport Cat Shows, or I'll pull up the other bottom third thing. There we go. And this is in about an hour and 40 minutes from now anyway, when he goes live. Find him on YouTube at Para or Normal Guys. Yet Ken says Caroline Leavitt lies are so easy to catch. Yeah, it's when she's at the microphone. That's clue number one.
Economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press.
That comment right there tells everybody in the room you lost control of the interview or of the press avail. Because that is their job to hold your feet as the representative of this administration. That is their job to hold your feet to the fire. And if it's too hot for you, walk away. So she did not correct anything. I got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about tariffs, and then we'll get into Marco Polo, or whatever the hell his name is, and what he used to think about the war in Ukraine. You're listening to Up the Middle, or watching. This is Up the Middle on the Mastiff Media Network. We'll be back after this. What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching, dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off. You can scream. You can yell. And you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum at Momentum Fitness. Oh, wrong one. I wanted to leave that up, but try to take me out. I just love that picture so much. I'm so happy that I got that today. I'm going to do that We the People thing too later. Jurgs on Cameo. Don't you want to hear this voice on demand with a personal address to you? For just $5, you can do that. Go to cameo.com. Oh, I think I have a thing here. QR codes. There it is. Scan the QR code on your screen or go to cameo.com/Jurgs/book. And for $5, you can keep me forever. Because why not, right? I wish you a happy birthday. I'll tell you anything you want to know about the Secret Service within reason. There are some things I can't talk about, but let me decide that. Maybe I can. Ask away. Shout it out. Maybe I can read you. Bitch at you like you were a caller. So ask some stupid question, and I'll give you a reply that way. Whatever you want to do. Cameo.com/Jurgs/book. Cameo.com. I'm also on Rumble. Go to rumble.com/register/Jurgs Media. Remember, Jurgs Media is what we were before Mastiff Media. And it was too late to change it when we rebranded, and I wanted to keep that account. So rumble.com/register/Jurgs Media. Sign up today to get all the advanced features of Rumble or to become a content creator. I don't know where I got contact from. Where did I see that? Somewhere. Put it in my head somehow. Content creator. Go to rumble.com/register/Jurgs Media. Because remember, we're presenting from both sides. Unlike some. Danny Boi. There's Richard, Sir Richard. Yes, take care of your employees. I try to do that. Picture now, I'm changing back to my browser, but the desktop shows clients do not come first. Employees, in all boldface. Employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of your clients. So this is a self-made billionaire talking. One who actually cares about people, not like Elon Musk. Sir Richard Branson. And there she is. Speaking of not caring about people, there she is. So from NPR, let's see if we can play that. Let me know if you guys hear this. I'm going to get rid of the music because I know that's annoying the hell out of Sport Cat. So don't want that. I did that enough yesterday. This is from WBFO FM 88.7, one of the NPR stations somewhere. Let me know if you hear this. Let me know in the chat. Well, we're back to music.
This is WBFO Explains. I'm Holly Kirkpatrick, and this time, tariffs. The Trump administration has imposed a 25% tariff on all imported steel and aluminum. But what is a tariff? Who pays it? And why does it matter? Put simply, a tariff is a tax on imported goods, and it is paid by the importer. That means it's US companies that will pay for the tariffs imposed on foreign steel and aluminum. It matters because studies show that ultimately it's American people who foot the bill. Companies can't always swallow the whole cost of the tariff, so they pass all or some of that extra burden on to customers in the form of higher prices. In the case of the steel and aluminum tariffs, it means potential price hikes for everyday products, such as beverage cans, washing machines, and cars. On the flip side, tariffs on imports can encourage American companies to buy American products and therefore build the resilience of domestic supply chains. According to the Economic Policy Institute, targeted tariffs can help to protect certain US manufacturing industries and have even been effective in preserving and expanding the domestic steel industry. For WBFO Explains, I'm Holly Kirkpatrick.
That was good. That was good. And I just hope T-Rump hears that. Which, I mean, he's not. But coming up, when we talk about Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and probably even CIA, are we in World War III? I say we've been. We're not in it now. We've been in it. Let me know what you think. Give me a call. Would love that. 1-888-88-YERGS. 844-GAY-LGBT. Or on Google Voice. Sorry, my nose itches. On Google Voice, 813-358-3836. All right, 5 things to know about tariffs and how they work. That was NPR. This is PBS. Tariffs are tax on imports. There it is. They're a tax on imports. Who pays the tax? We do. We the people. There's much that's why, because I can't speak. There's much misinformation about who actually pays tariffs. This I'm going to read further because, this is hopefully an opportunity to fix that. Trump is a proponent of tariffs, insisting that they are paid for by foreign countries. In fact, it is importers, American companies, that pay tariffs, and the money goes to the U.S. Treasury. Those companies typically pass their higher costs onto their customers in the form of higher prices. That's why economists say consumers usually end up footing the bill for tariffs. Still, tariffs can hurt foreign countries by making their products pricier and harder to sell abroad. Foreign companies might have to cut prices and sacrifice profits to offset the tariffs to try to maintain their market share in the United States. Yang Zhu, an economist at Shanghai's Fudan University, concluded in a study that Trump's tariffs on Chinese goods inflicted more than 3 times as much damage to the Chinese economy as they did to the U.S. economy. Okay, that's great. But they still inflicted damage to the U.S. economy, which has already seen enough damage from the productive economy that the Biden administration left. I don't want to hear about your grocery bill. Your failure to manage a budget or balance a checkbook is not Joe Biden's fault. It's yours. I didn't have that problem. And I took a 60% pay cut at the beginning of the Biden administration. I'm still saving money. I still own more than 50% of my house. What Trump has said about tariffs. Trump has said tariffs will create more factory jobs, shrink the federal deficit, not with your tax breaks it won't, lower food prices, and allow the government to subsidize childcare. So you're going to pay for that too? By what? Cheerios? Said Trump in Flint, Michigan. Tariffs are the greatest thing ever invented. Oh, I guess all those Indians at the Boston Tea Party were just misinformed. During his first term, T-Rump imposed tariffs with a flourish, targeting imported solar panels, steel, aluminum, and pretty much everything from China. Tariff man, he called himself. T-Rump is moving ahead with higher tariffs in his second term. The United States in recent years has gradually retreated from its post-World War II role of promoting global free trade and lower tariffs. That's generally a response to the loss of U.S. manufacturing jobs, widely attributed to unfettered free. Yeah, I got unfettered right, and I couldn't do tree. It's free. Do you see that? Look at the screen right now, right here. There's a typo. It says in that highlighted spot, unfettered tree trade. I actually read it right. So let's go back. That's generally a response to the loss of U.S. manufacturing jobs, widely attributed to unfettered free trade, and look at this, and China's ascent as a manufacturing power. Next up, tariffs are intended to mainly protect domestic industries. That is also correct, based on what we heard from Yang Zhu and what it can do to the foreign economy. They are designed to protect our domestic economy. Doesn't mean that they will, the part that's left out. By raising the price of imports, tariffs can protect homegrown manufacturers. They may also serve to punish foreign countries for unfair trade practices such as subsidizing their exporters or dumping products at unfairly low prices. Before the federal income tax was established in 1913, tariffs were a major revenue source for the government. From 1790 to 1860, tariffs accounted for 90% of the federal revenue, according to Douglas Irwin, a Dartmouth College economist who has studied the history of trade policy. Tariffs fell out of favor as global trade grew after World War II. The government needed vastly bigger revenue streams to finance its operations. In the fiscal year that ended September 30th, the government collected around $80 billion in tariffs and fees, a trifle next to the $2.5 trillion that comes from individual income taxes, and $1.7 trillion from Social Security and Medicare taxes. Still, Trump favors a budget policy that resembles what it was in the 19th century. Tariffs can also be used to pressure other countries on issues that may or may not be related to trade. In 2019, for example, Trump, are you seeing a pattern here? Trump used the threat of tariffs as leverage to persuade Mexico to crack down on waves of Central American migrants crossing Mexican territory on their way to the United States. Trump even sees tariffs as a way to prevent wars. I can do it with a phone call. He said at an August rally in North Carolina, but hasn't done it yet. If another country tries to start a war, he said he'd issue a threat. We're going to charge you 100% tariffs. And all of a sudden, the president or prime minister or dictator or whoever the hell is running the country says to me, "Sir, we won't go to war." It's not what they say to you, Donald. After they stop laughing, I'm pretty sure it's not sir. And finally, economists generally consider tariffs self-defeating. Tariffs raise cost for companies and consumers that rely on imports. They're also likely to provoke retaliation. The European Union, for example, punched back against Trump's tariffs on steel, aluminum, by taxing U.S. products from bourbon to Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Likewise, China has responded to Trump's trade war by slapping tariffs on American goods, including soybeans, pork, in a calculated drive to hurt his supporters in farm country. Hurt middle America. A study by economists at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the University of Zurich, Harvard, and the World Bank concluded that Trump's tariffs failed to restore jobs to the American heartland. The tariffs, quote, neither raised nor lowered U.S. employment, where they were supposed to protect jobs, the study found. Despite Trump's 2018 taxes on imported steel, for example, the number of jobs at U.S. steel plants barely budged. They remained right around 140,000. By comparison, Walmart alone employs 1.6 million people in the United States. Also, the only private company, by the way, to have their own private nuclear fleet. The shipping ships, the cargo ships, run by Walmart, are the only private nuclear fleet in history. Okay. Worse than retaliatory taxes imposed on China and other nations on U.S. goods had negative employment impacts, especially for farmers, the study found. These retaliatory tariffs were only partly offset by billions in government aid that Trump doled out to farmers. The Trump tariffs also damaged companies that relied on targeted imports. If Trump's trade war fizzled as policy, though, it succeeded as politics. The study found that support for Trump and Republican congressional candidates rose in areas most exposed to the import tariffs. The industrial Midwest and manufacturing-heavy southern states like North Carolina and Tennessee. And what did we also say yesterday about illiteracy? Let's not go there. Not yet. All right, I got to take a break. Like I said, we're going to end on time today, so I want to get through Marco Rubio and the CIA and Gaza, at least give you some links to chat about. When we come back, we're going to see what's going on in the chat with Ken's calling him the Orange Satan. Oh, no. And let us know, are we in World War III? This is Up the Middle. I'm a voice that sounds like yours. I'm Jurgs. I'll be back right after this.
What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching, dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off, you can scream, you can yell, and you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum at Momentum Fitness.
DNR Studios. I think we got about a week and a half, and we'll be on DNR Studios, adding yet another happy network to the Mastiff Media Network. Derek and Romaine are like the Howard and Robin of sorts. They're more co-hosts than they are host, counterpart, or sidekick. But they were the Howard and Robin of sorts at Sirius XM. As far back as when both Sirius and XM were still separate companies, and they were at both. They led the charge on the LGBT channel, whatever that was called, I forget. But there was an LGBT channel at the time at Sirius XM. And they were like the flagship show for it. Unfortunately, SiriusXM did away with that channel, but not with the DNR fans. And Derek and Romaine formed DNR Studios, subscription service where you can get multiple shows to include now Up the Middle. And while you still might be able to get me for free, check out dnrstudios.com and see what's available. I think you might like it. They welcome allies. You don't have to be gay or lesbian. They very easily welcome allies and any other members of our global community. Go to tnrstudios.com. All right, up next, here it is. This is the clip from when he was Senator Rubio, while this is why I hate politics, and here I am talking about it every day. But I go through the stress so you don't have to. This is when he was Senator Rubio with a Democratic president. And he's essentially saying we need to do more, perhaps even alluding to boots on the ground to defend Ukraine. And he's right. But now all of a sudden, there's a change of tune. Let's listen. And I promise for the next 58 seconds, I'll shut up.
When the Soviet Union fell in the early 1990s, Ukraine was left with the world's third largest stockpile of tactical nuclear weapons and strategic nuclear weapons on the planet. But they signed this agreement with the United States, the United Kingdom, and Russia that basically said, if you give up your nuclear weapons, we, these three countries that signed to this, will provide for your defense and assure you of your defense. And so Ukraine did that. They gave up these weapons. Well, now, this was signed in 1994, 20 years later, one of the three countries that signed that agreement hasn't just not provided for their defense, they actually invaded.
Okay, so it's actually now 30 years later. 94 to 04 is 10 to 14, I guess when this was spoken, or later, would be 20. Now we're in 2025. So 31 years later.
Them. And I want to make a point on this for a second. Think about if you're one of these other countries around the world right now that feels threatened by your neighbors.
The part where I paused the last time is when he was saying that Russia is the one invaded. One of the signing countries to this agreement was the one that actually invaded them. And now he's making a point about, what if this happens to us?
And the United States and the rest of the world are going to you and saying, listen, don't develop nuclear weapons. We will protect you. We will watch out for you. What kind of lesson do you think this instance sends to them? I think the message this is sending to many nations around the world is perhaps we can no longer count on the security promises made by the free world.
Boom. Well, that's coming back to bite him in the ass now, isn't it? Because now, here's an opinion of somebody else. And I'm still looking into more video clips. I like video clips because it's the person that we're talking about. It's not somebody else like this next one. But it's the actual person that we're talking about. This is an ex-GRU member. This is a spy telling that Marco Rubio wants Ukraine to give in.
The U.S. Secretary of State, the top diplomat in the Trump administration, says his delegation wants to listen to Ukraine. That, he says, is the objective of this phase of the process there in Jeddah. What do you think he wants to hear?
He wants to hear that the Ukrainian side is eager to sign unconditional surrender to the Russian side. That's what he really wants to hear. He does not want to hear that they agree to limitations, that they agree to stop fighting, stop firing in the sea, in the sea and in the air, and other proposals. What the Ukraine is definitely ready to present. What they want actually, they want Putin's decision, Putin's point of view on this, and Putin wants unconditional surrender and nothing else. They want exactly what they demanded. That Ukraine does not join NATO, that Ukraine doesn't have an army, that Ukraine doesn't want the European Union, that the NATO moves back to the positions of 97, and all that sort of things that we all know about.
Well, there's that. I'm just looking quick to see if anything. I've seen this one since the late 80s. Trump has been accused of being a Russian asset. I'm actually doing a story on that I'm not ready to talk more about yet. But we'll look at that. Is there a P tape? I don't even want to know what that's about. James Carville. It's a funny story about him before we move on to the next. Funny story about James Carville. I had a colleague who started his law enforcement career at the Supreme Court Police. And he lived in a D.C. townhouse that was owned by James Carville and Mary Matlin. If you know who they are, James Carville was a guy in that one photo there about peeing or whatever. He's a Democratic strategist. His wife, Mary Matlin, is a Republican strategist. Yeah. And he lived in it. My friend Steve lived in an in-law unit. What that is, it's a basement that also has its own front and back access and is essentially made into an apartment unless they fit certain standards: ceiling height, number of windows, accessibility, etc. They're not legal. Mine did not fit the ceiling height, and so it was also not legal. But I made boatload. I made bank on renting it out. In fact, I made so much money renting out my house, I actually moved down to the basement and rented the upstairs, which is legal. But anyway, my friend Steve lived in the basement of James and Mary, their house on Capitol Hill. And he comes out front door, like off to go to work. And of course, they start later in the day. So they're just sitting out there having coffee. And James Carville's out there having coffee on the front porch. And he looks up and sees James and Mary sitting there, and he's in his boxer shorts, and his old man cookies are hanging out of the cookie jar. Steve couldn't unsee that. No, you can't either. The CIA. Let's see where we're at in the chat here. Ken says the orange Satan doesn't hear anything besides squawks of his own voice. Yeah, that's all he wants to hear. I understand my friends when they say everything they turn on the news, Trump is doing something, rather he's doesn't grasp the concept of, or he's playing dumb. I've heard that dumb thing before. And I do think he might be playing dumb. And while he might also be a little arrogant and cocky, he's also experienced enough to know what he can at least try to get over people. You know, for example, we're not going to talk about it today, but his own Secretary of Education said that they cannot dismantle the Department of Education without the approval of Congress, which with a Republican Congress for the next year and a half, they would probably get. However, today, he's signing an executive order dismantling the Department of Education. Nobody knows what that department does. If they did, they wouldn't be for it. Because these same people that are following Trump's lead, saying, oh yeah, we can dismember the department, DOE. And you got to watch how you say that. DOE also stands for Department of Energy. Slightly different cabinet. That's the same Department of Education. That DOE is the same one that feeds your kids at school. That's where that funding comes from. I know Blake Fisher will say, well, you can, allocate it from somewhere else. What's so bad about the Department of Education doing it? Maybe if they did control and oversee schools a little more, we'd have more than 50% with a 7th grade or lower reading level. Anyway, let's see what happened at the CIA yesterday. This is from WJLA, the ABC affiliate in Washington, D.C. I've been interviewed by these people when I was attacked by a dog 8 or 9 years ago now. You can Google that, Secret Service agent mauled by dog. This was one of the stations that talked to me. Let's see. Oh, I'm not putting this on for 4 hours and 54 minutes. No. I thought this was like a news thing. Here's 59 seconds. Let's try that one.
At noon, one person now in custody after an hours-long standoff outside CIA headquarters.
Yeah, we're going to check in first tonight with John Rogers as authorities are sharing a lot more now about what happened. John?
Yeah, so just about an hour ago, the suspect surrendered to police investigators, we're told, and he's now in custody. We have coverage and photos on our website, but this was quite a tense situation for hours today. Authorities tell us this morning a man made threats at the gate of the CIA headquarters in McLean. And officials say he pointed a gun at the building, but no shots were fired and no injuries were reported. This threat prompted a massive police presence outside the building, including a SWAT team and the Fairfax County Police Bomb Squad. FBI agents were on scene as well, and there were street closures. I just checked not too long ago. Right now, there are some slowdowns on Dolly Madison Boulevard, but things are returning to normal over there. And when I learn more about that suspect, I'll be sure to let you know.
All right, John, thank you. Tonight, All
right, so that's that. Cherry Blossom Festival coming up. How do we get out of this? There we go. Is this? Oh, this is something else. What's this? That's just a photo. CIA sexual misconduct. That's it. Okay. That's the photo from yesterday. Also from yesterday. Yesterday. That's it. Okay. There is one other. Let me, it's probably going to play. Nope. Okay. This is from WTOP, another top station. I think it's WTOP. I think this is the most listened to station in the world, or at least in the country, because it's a news station in the DC area. We're covering what we call the National Capital Region. That's live. I wonder if that's probably now. I don't think that's going to be, that live button is probably for right now, not for. Well, let's see.
The WTOP Listen Live experience is brought to you by the Adobe Cold Fusion Summit East 2025, hosted by Carasoft on March 26th in Reston, Virginia. Register today at cara.io/CF Summit East 2025.
WTOP Sports. All right, thank you, Diane. Up ahead, President Trump doubling down on making the U.S. a cryptocurrency power. We'll hear that after traffic and weather. Next.
Okay, so that wasn't... For the cryptocurrency story, check out Daily Crypto News by one of my Friday partners, Matt Deemer. Go to dailycryptonews.net and read more about that, or listen to it. He gets both. One person is in custody Wednesday after an hours-long standoff with police at CIA headquarters in McLean, Virginia. The individual was taken into custody around 3 p.m., concluding the standoff after about 5 hours. According to WTOP's John Doman, who was at the scene. Fairfax County Police said they assisted with the barricade incident at the CIA, and the person involved surrendered to their negotiators. A CIA spokesperson confirmed to WTOP on Wednesday morning that a security incident was taking place, but would not comment further. Dolly Madison Boulevard, I'll show you the map in a second, was shut down in both directions between Georgetown Pike and Seville Lane during the standoff. Fairfax County Police said the road reopened just before 4 p.m. And this is it. This is the George Washington Parkway. Down here continues into D.C. This continues out towards Dulles Airport. This is essentially Dolly Madison, Route 123, connects to 193, and that was the intersection we saw in the photos. And this whole white area is CIA territory. This white area between the highways and even actually part of this green is what's referred to, if you've ever heard this, it's what's referred to as Langley. It's surrounded by McLean, Virginia, which is bordered along Maryland at the Potomac River. That's it. That'll be in the show notes. I want to touch on Gaza real quick. Mostly, according to the Associated Press, why did Netanyahu end the Gaza ceasefire? The wave of Israeli strikes that killed hundreds of Palestinians across Gaza Strip early Tuesday was the culmination of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's efforts to get out of the ceasefire with Hamas that he agreed to in January. Since the start of the war, Netanyahu has faced dueling, possible incompatible pressures. Families of the hostages want him to cut a deal with Hamas to free them, while his far-right coalition partners want to continue the war with the aim of annihilating the militant group. On Tuesday, he appeared to cast his lot with the latter, and U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has backed Netanyahu's decision to unilaterally walk away from the ceasefire it took credit for brokering. And now here is the problem with what the U.S. is doing. I'll go into more of it tomorrow with the guys, or actually with Matt. Blake will still be wrapping up his hiking or camping excursion that he's on with the family. But here is the issue that I have with Israel, the Trump administration, and why I say we are in a world war. Because of all these conflicts that are happening. We just attacked Yemen and fired on Houthi rebels this past weekend. Who are they backed by? Iran. Who is Israel also afraid of? We won't say afraid of. We don't want to make anybody look bad here. We'll say who are they concerned with? Iran. Who is known to back Hamas? Iran. Who is known to be allied with, according to this country's own leader, who is known to be allied with Iran? Russia. What's Russia been up to? Oh my goodness, they attacked somebody too. Wow. How that all comes together when you think about it for a little bit. Isn't that crazy? But here we are, we being the T-Rump administration, led in part by Marco Polo, or whatever his name is, Dumbo, who says 1 minute, we need to stand by Ukraine. Then 10 short years later, he wants Ukraine to bow down to Russia. And that was pretty much the gist, because Ukraine is required to make all these concessions in the peace agreement that I don't think is going to happen. But Putin is not. Let's remember something. Putin is the aggressor. Not even Trump and his bullshit stories can change that. If we want to get away from geopolitical terms and philosophies, then we will say Putin is the bad guy. And us standing by Ukraine is no different than France standing by us 260 years ago, or slightly less. So we can't go saying, as Dumbo has, that the war in Ukraine does not have a military solution. And then turn around and before a known war criminal, actually, let me rephrase, and turn around and before a second known war criminal to break a peace agreement that he agreed to not 2 months ago. And of course, I'm referring to second being Putin, who has been charged internationally with war crimes. And now Netanyahu, also been charged with war crimes. Or accused, charged. I'm not sure exactly how far it went. Clearly, because we know who they are, nothing's going to happen. They're not brown. They wear suits instead of BDUs, so they can't be bad guys. They can't be criminals. They don't wear a turban. We don't tell the world how they hide out in caves and then find them in a fortress. So they're not criminals. But we had no problem calling Barack Obama a criminal when he bombed terrorists that happened to be American citizens. That was okay. All right, I do got to get rolling. Obviously, I could keep going there and probably talk about this tomorrow. And I think that's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell whoever joins us tomorrow that we're talking about the fact that we are in World War III. We might not have declared war on anybody, but what do you call this? What do you call it? Give me a better term for it. Because I'm going to help you define that. There isn't one. I guess I can take the begging you to call me down, because that's not going to happen anymore. Ken says to remember, tell a friend. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share, gang. Absolutely. Please do. And go back to, I'm going to put the link in the chat. Please. Let me pull it up with the contact page even. Yeah, so there's the code for there's the link and the ATML link for America One Radio contact. Take a second, write them, ask them why I'm not on at 11 a.m. like the schedule says I am. And I'm just make sure that they haven't changed anything. Yeah, 11 a.m. Monday through Friday, still there. Unfortunately, it's only the first hour, but we haven't been in like almost a month. So maybe I'll use that myself and say, hey, here's the link in case you need it again. I've emailed Justin, I think the guy's name is, who manages America One Radio. It's a progressive station, but I want to be on progressive and conservative. And if any of you have any other stations like this, where you think we might be a good fit, let me know. We'll reach out. But please, I'd like you to use that link that I put in the chat, americaoneradio.com/contact, or just go to the homepage and click the contact button. It's right there in the top right. Fill out make up a name for God. I don't care. Just ask why Up the Middle isn't being played like the schedule says. Because we're no longer, and tell them this too, Up the Middle is no longer on the FM station that also is based out of Atlanta. So it's an excellent opportunity for this show and that station to dominate the Atlanta market. We are growing. Grow with us. Talk some sense into America One Radio for me. And as Ken says, remember, tell a friend. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, please. It helps the algorithms, helps all of us, helps get a message out. It helps get the message to the conservatives who might be for the Trump administration. I welcome their opinions. I welcome their pushback. I welcome conservatives that are against the Trump administration. This is a safe place for everyone. I might hang up on somebody eventually, but they will have it coming to them because it's recorded. You're going to know it. All right, let's get through some plugs, and I'll be out of here. If you're in the sound of my voice and you need to write me, I would love for you to write me, but you can't do it to the address that I'm going to give you later because you live in Ukraine, Gaza, Moscow, wherever. Yergs@yergs.com, or excuse me, Yergs@shayyergs.com. That is for my hotel brand that we're starting in Belize. It's what brought me here to Tampa because we almost bought a hotel in Gulfport, down by St. Pete Beach, that area. I'm glad I didn't because with Milton, they went under hard. But Yergs@shayyergs, that's CHEZ, Yergs.com. Just tell me where you're writing in from so I know to keep the stories flowing and keep the news coming your way about where you're at. And that's anywhere. You can use the other email address too, just in case you need one on the down low. For those of you anywhere in the northern Tampa Bay region, Nature Coast, go to mysrca.com. That's for the Sea Ranch Civic Association in Pasco County, Florida. Great group to be a part of. Highly recommend mysrca.com. Call 202-224-3121. That's the Capitol Switchboard. Tell them, well, don't tell them, they don't care. But they'll connect you to your state's senator and your House of Representatives members, your congressmen or women. Tell them Doge, gotta Doge. DNR Studios we talked about. Start there in about a week and a half or so. Check them out at dnrstudios.com. Consider subscribing to their service. Lots of good shows there. Don't have to be gay. You can be an ally. LGBTQ plus IA, whatever the hell. A stands for ally. Check them out at dnrstudios.com. Jane Stahl is with me on Mondays. She's also the manager of the Studio B Art Gallery in Boyertown, Pennsylvania, our hometown. You can get her through Studio BBB, 3Bs, studiobbb.org. She's also the co-editor. If she's not busy enough, she's also the co-editor of the Boyertown Area Expression. It's our town's daily online digital newspaper. You can find out more by going to boyertownareaexpression.town.news. Philip Blackett was with me yesterday. He's our resident Trump translator and Harvard-educated author. You can reach him through his socials at Philip Blackett, Philip with one L, Blackett with two T's. He'll be back on Wednesday. Matt will be joining me tomorrow for Friday Fights. He's also the host of the Daily Crypto News. You can hear more about that at dailycryptonews.net and reach him, Matt, at dailycryptonews.net or info@demorforcongress.com. Blake Fisher is the host of The Homeless Conservative. You can learn more about that by going to thehomelessconservative.com. And you can write him, Blake, at thehomelessconservative.com. You can write us all news at yergs.com, news, N-E-W-Z, at yergs, YERGZ.com. And for show notes and more information, go to yergs.com or mastiff.media. Coming up in about 45 minutes, you're going to hear the playlist from Yergs Radio on Radio X. And I think maybe also a ZQR before they go to Sportcats Daily Gazette, and also on Yergs Radio and Rainbow Radio. But coming up in 45 minutes, Sportcats Daily Gazette. Easiest way to get that, if you want the video, go to YouTube at Para or Normal Guys, guys with a Z. Or just stay tuned to Radio X, Yergs Radio, or Rainbow Radio, and he'll see you about 45. I will see you tomorrow. That is it for me. I have got to run. I got a lot to do today. Been having a real successful week, and I need to continue that. So hang tight. There'll be some playlist for the next 45 minutes. Sportcat will be live again after that. Let me go through the times for you. Where am I? There we go. At 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. London, 1800 Berlin, 1900 in Tel Aviv, Gaza, and Kyiv, 20 hours, 8 p.m. Moscow, 1 a.m. in Perth, and 4 a.m. in Melbourne and Sydney, when Sportcat will be joining you with his Daily Gazette. That's it for me. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for getting off the porch with the big dogs and running up the middle. See you tomorrow.